balance. I'm a Libra. Libras are the scales. We're all about balance. Just saying.
You really bringing up horoscopes, bro?
It's cool. They're going to kill me in the comments for it, too.
Yo, what is up, everyone? And welcome to another episode of Empower 610, where we
empowering minds one episode at a time.
Let's get it.
Yeah.
So what we talking about nice in this episode?
What should we talk about? I mean, it is December. It's the holidays. It's the Super Bowl holidays, I suppose. But this is that trendy time of year where everyone's thinking resolutions, goal setting, visions, new year, new me.
Is AI gonna replace my career?
Oh Lordy, we gonna talk AI? Oh man,
we gonna talk AI. We gonna have a little special reaction that y'all not ready for.
The AI roast.
The AI roast.
Roast Olympics.
The roast Olympics, and we want you to figure out if Nice Jones is an AI.
Yo.
Pause.
Chill. Why you had to say that? That's crazy. People ain't supposed to know.
We gotta.
Now I'm stressed.
We gotta throw the whatchamacallit, the theories out there.
The theories, yeah. No, there's a lot of theories. I'll tell you that.
So what's your New Year's resolution?
So typically for me, I'm not gonna say I'm anti-resolutions. I'm big on reflection. So all year, I'm in a status of reflecting what's happening, what's going on. Am I performing? Am I achieving the things that I wish to achieve? Now, typically, I go into a much deeper reflection around November. This year, I started earlier just because of some personal life happening. So I actually started right after my birthday in October and just got into heavy reflective and assessment mode. But really, one of the three main things for me is thinking about focusing on my mind, focusing on my body, focusing on my soul, because to me, with those three things are the things that are going to help me glow. You dig?
We all had an experience where we felt anxiety at some point. But did you ever had help processing those thoughts?
Our mind is full of gems, and sometimes we might feel stressed, anxious, or overwhelmed because life happens.
Today's sponsored gem is BetterHelp.
Here to help you be the best you. Now, let's keep it real. We all need to vent, and doing it on social media just ain't it.
You can communicate by video, audio, or unlimited messaging.
There's a wide range of experts in BetterHelp's 20,000 plus therapist network.
What are you waiting for?
Join the 3 million plus people who have taken charge of their mental health with an experienced BetterHelp therapist.
You fill out a questionnaire to help assess your specific needs, and then you can get matched with a therapist in as little as 48 hours.
Go to betterhelp.com/empower610 for 10% off your first month of therapy with BetterHelp.
That's betterhelp.com/empower610.
Get matched with a therapist who will listen and help. BetterHelp, better performance, better life.
Yeah, for sure. And if you think about like the 4 pillars, it would be health, wealth, love, and happiness. It just aligns right with it. And I think that's one of the things that people usually reevaluate, reassess around the end of the year, and they kind of figure out what they can do better. And then 1 month after the new year starts, they go back to the bad habits. And we're going to be talking about habits as well.
Yeah, it's mind-blowing to me, and they be aware of it. So that's the thing. Like when people get older, they're very aware of these changes. They get into a rut, but the problem is that they don't take action, and then it's like this systematic thing, and the market plans for that. You'll see all these ads: sign up for the gym, it's cheap, it's this, kick your New Year's resolutions into gear. But they know, statistically speaking, the average person is going to sign up for a gym membership, not be using the gym after like 3 weeks, and then keep their membership locked in for like 7 months before they ever cancel.
I actually read somewhere that that's actually how they make their mainstream of income. It's not from the people that go to the gym every day. If anything, the people that go to the gym every single day, or they're really dedicated, they're actually make them lose money.
Yeah,
because they're taking up space,
time, and energy, utilities.
Utilities, yeah, exactly. So, but the people that, they pay for the membership and they stay home, I know that was me for a little bit.
Yeah.
And until I got back in it, and I got to get back in it again.
Yeah.
But I got my own goals, weight loss goals, 10 pounds down. So we got more to go, and we're gonna maintain it. And that's the ideology. But nice. Tell me, there's one thing that we just did that's gonna start the new year right. What did we just do?
We had a marathon meeting. You know what I mean? We had a marathon meeting. We set out and had an agenda, and we had to figure out what do we want to do with this brand. Where do we see ourselves long term? Where do we see ourselves short term? What goals do we have for the next 12 months? And then how can we work our way backwards and reverse engineer success? And then through doing that, we also took some of the investment dollars that we've been able to bring in to then make it an official corporation. So confetti, yay.
LLC, let's go. Let's get it. And the cool thing is we always look at business and we always bring it back to life and how everything in business can actually apply to real life. Because if you think about it, the same skill set that you use in starting a business, there's a reason why it's a separate entity, and there's a reason why you kind of raise it. Like if it's like, I think me and you got into this whole topic, like if it was your child.
Yeah, you got to treat your brand like your baby. You're not gonna just let your baby crawling around acting crazy.
And one of the things that we also always talk about is the fact that starting the business is actually the easiest part. And for the longest, when I first started my business, I thought that was like the hardest part because I didn't know what were the steps until I came across you, across the program that you were involved with entrepreneurship. And then you were like, nah, man, like that's the easy part. The hardest part is maintaining it, building those habits, executing those goals, breaking those goals down into baby steps and actually moving forward and then reassessing every time. I actually, instead of reassessing at the end of the year, I don't know why people don't reassess quarterly.
I agree.
Because
wholeheartedly.
If you think about it, what you get done in a quarter, which would be like 3 months, you could look back and it's like, hey, are these things that I'm completing now aligning with the vision? Because a lot of the times you see people doing things that don't really align with the vision that they had initially.
It's facts.
And a lot of the things that we talked about with this podcast and with some of the other brand ideas that we discussed in that meeting, it's crazy because we talked about this and we had these ideas way before we met each other.
Yeah, exactly, which proves the alignment.
And the crazy part is that me and you still have like these ideas that were kind of like aligned with each other. And it's almost like if the universe, God, whatever you want to call it, brought us together and aligned that energy to actually make it happen. And now we're actually sitting down and we're like, all right, let's organize this. Let's create the systems like we were talking about. Let's go get it. So for someone that is right now in a rut, because we know that wintertime and mental health is big.
Yes.
And let's keep it real. Like this last quarter has been crazy.
I agree.
Personally for me, personally for other people that I know.
Personally for me too.
And like mental health is big around this time period. What can we do to help them start their new year's right? Let's break it down in the pillars. So first of all, let's talk about health, mental health.
Yeah, I think honestly is, especially this time of year because everything's moving fast. I don't like driving anywhere right now because I feel like everyone's anxious, driving like maniacs. Everyone feels all this pressure because of the holidays. I think for me, the biggest thing is practicing presence. Press pause.
Bro.
The same way you pause Netflix to go grab some chips and dip is the same way you need to pause life and the way it's moving. And look, observe, figure out, call out your feelings. Write them down somewhere.
That's facts. And that hit me personally because I'm a big one where my problem is not like I'm stuck in the past. My problem is I'm stuck in the future because I'm always thinking about ideas, things that we can do in the future, new innovative stuff, and then we execute on them. But sometimes when you get stuck on that, like you're not living in the present.
No.
And life just goes by. And I've been experiencing that lately, me personally, where I'm like, yo, how many months has passed by?
Yep.
Because you're just thinking of the next day. And even just for people that are doing day-to-day 9 to 5s, like you get in this routine that you're just getting ready for the next day. You're getting ready for the next day. You're getting ready for the next day. Then the next day turns into next month. The next day turns into next quarter. The next quarter turns into the end of the quarter. And then the next end of the quarter turns into the end of the year. And now we're back here.
You're back in that vicious cycle, and you're like, wow, where did the time go? And the problem is that, like that old song says, check yourself before you wreck yourself.
Yes, sir.
So staying complacent, like to me, complacency is cancerous. You know what I'm saying? Like it's easy to fall into a loop because that's what your mind and your body naturally craves, these loops. But if you know there's an issue, start simple. It's as simple as, people be like, yo, I want to lose weight. All right, start by having just one healthier meal per day and cooking it versus eating out all the time. And the price of food's going up. So it's like, it's more efficient for your wallet to cook at home.
Right.
But if you have a problem with cooking, like we got the internet. You know how many free videos you can watch on YouTube? People that are hustling menu items or giving out stuff. Like you can find recipes everywhere.
Yep. Start
there. And even if it's just one, because now you're putting way more time and energy and love into that, that you'll get that benefit. So start simple. It doesn't have to, you don't got to build Rome in a day.
Facts.
You can build it in a series of days. So it's like just stop and do things at this most minimal and simplest way. I know for me, personally, I stay very grounded because I have a formula for myself on a daily basis. I need 30 minutes of physical activity by any means necessary. I don't care if I'm going for a walk. I don't care if I'm doing push-ups in my office, doing push-ups at home, sit-ups, whatever. I need 30 minutes of physical activity that I keep track of. I need 15 minutes of reading because I got to feed and exercise my mind. I need 15 minutes of meditation because I got to clear out the mental palette so I can make easy decisions when needed. And I also find that it helps boost my creativity. And then I need 15 minutes of journaling because that's how I stay present. And so my thing is, that's my way that I have and build those habit loops so that way I can maintain my zen all the time. And then I notice when my days are off, something from that equation was missing or didn't go as planned. Every time. Once I check in, it's like, all right, what did I miss?
And one of the things that, especially in our community, that isn't practiced as much is knowing when to seek professional help. Because me personally, there was something in my culture that, like, when people looked at therapy or when they looked at a psychologist, like, they didn't look at it as a science. They looked at it as, oh, it's just someone you go to talk to. But me experiencing therapy and me going to therapy just to talk out my problems, I noticed the difference between me going to therapy and me going to like a friend to talk to. Because one, you're talking to someone that knows and studied this. Two, you also are going to a person that's a third party that's not biased at all.
Yep.
And can call you out when they notice that you're wrong. And I remember from my personal sessions that there would be times where I thought I was like completely right about something, and then my therapist mentioned it and made me think like, oh wait, let me actually reflect on that, because maybe I'm the person that was doing wrong in this certain scenario. So doing things along those lines, where practicing either like these routines like you talked about, or even seeking therapy, because like a lot of the issues with therapy as well is the finances. So there now I know that there's many organizations out there, whether you go through a direct psychologist, other therapists, there's also nonprofits that offer it. You could look into it, and that's something that we definitely recommend. That's something that we definitely promote. And we're really big on it, because not only us personally, but people we know, a lot of people in our community has really gone through it when it comes to mental health. And that's why we really want to emphasize on it.
Systems and systems, honestly, and that's a systematic issue that is designed that way. But I will say this, like, we obviously talk mental health a couple times here. It's this particular time of year. The holidays are very sensitive to people for a variety of reasons. So I'll say this, like, if people are looking for services or looking for mental health help and don't know where to go, like, feel free to message me. One thing I'll say about this, and shout out to my mom for the way she raised us. We didn't always have much, but we found a way to make a lot. She taught me to be very resourceful. So when it comes to that, a lot of times I know how to find stuff very quickly, and so there's a wealth of resources. So I'll be more than happy if people reach out to me directly and say they just want some insight on some mental health resources. I'm more than happy to send people some links of what I know, whether they're local to our area or even people outside of it. Even if it's simple as like different Instagram pages to read content, to realize and kind of demystify like what's going on. But I'm big on it. This is why I get involved with organizations. That's why I'm a chair on an organization for a program called Exert Your Voice with Psyches of Color, where we provide mental health group discussions and provide hip hop therapy services, and I help curate the content for that because I'm passionate about that. Because if you're not mentally well floating through life, what are we really talking about with goals? If you ain't get your mind right, goal setting don't even matter.
All right. So adding on to what you were saying, if your mind's not right, then the rest won't go well. And so it's important to recognize it when it happens, so you can catch it early before it goes too deep into it. Mm-hmm. And one of the things that also helped me is getting my nutrition and diet right. So that's one of the things that I'm doing, is learning how to create a habit when it comes to eating healthy food. And knowing how to really not stress eat, because a lot of the times when I would have either anxiety or I'm feeling very stressed, all of a sudden I want some burgers, I want some fries, I want something very greasy, and then my body doesn't take it well.
Yeah.
But
you regret it. I
regret it at the end, because then I'm getting more anxiety or even depressed just looking at the scale, because I see it keep going up and up and up. Mm-hmm. So one of my personal goals of mine is not necessarily just weight loss in general, but maintaining it and building a habit around that.
Yeah, I dig that. The one thing I like with building a habit with working out is looking at the app for the gym that I go to, because they will be nameless. I can see the calendar of the days that I go. And so I look at it and I assess all right, how many days did I go relative to how much I'm paying? Because I be wanting to get my money's worth. Yeah. So I know that based on what I pay them, if I go a certain amount of days, it's almost like I'm paying $1 a day, 50 cents a day, or whatever the case may be. And so...
today's episode... All right, my bad.
That's good. So in looking at the calendar of the days that I go, because it shows when I go in and don't go in, I like to look at that from how much am I spending per visit, because in the end it's a game to me. I want to beat out what it is and make sure it's the lowest possible cost, and the only way I can do that is basing it on the amount of days I actually get to go.
Yeah.
The other thing with me is I like to be very efficient. So although I said, hey, I like to read 15 minutes a day and exercise for at least 30 minutes, there's times where I'll go to the gym and I'll ride an exercise bike, because I can ride an exercise bike and read a book at the same time. Uh-huh. So the fact that I can stack my habits for what my equation is extremely helpful for me. Or just even writing, I can write on my phone while I'm riding a bike if I want to journal that way, or I don't know, I get some really good ideas while I'm riding the bike as well. So it's
and it's almost you feel more productive, because
way more productive.
When I started eating healthier and I started getting back in the gym again, mm-hmm. I felt like I was waking up with way more energy, instead of having to wake up and be like, oh my gosh, I don't want to do this. Yeah. I'm waking up, I'm going to work, and I'm I'm pumped. Let's do this. Let's knock this out. And then I'm making my list, and mm-hmm. now I'm feeling accomplished because I'm checking things off as I'm mm-hmm. going down, and I feel a lot more organized, and if I got a lot more done in a day than a usual day.
Yeah, no, that's facts. When you have that list management, I forgot what book I read, unfortunately, and I've read so many books on some of this stuff, but I like preparing for my day a day in advance. So it's the night before, I'll make a list of things I need to get done. Those things are on my mind by the time I go to sleep.
Nice.
When I go to sleep, those things are kind of festering, so I'm waking up the next day with an idea of I've just slept on what I need to do, and then I'm more excited to be able to get those things done and look at that at the night before when I do my own inventory, to be like, oh, look what I got done. This can roll into the next day, and I'm mentally preparing to get it done, which means I'm more likely to get it done because I've already mentally prepared to complete the task.
I actually read something about that, and I don't know if I read it or I saw a video about how the last thing that you see when you fall asleep, or the last thing that you are doing, actually interacts a lot with your subliminal thinking and also what you dream about. Because a lot of the times when you think about if you had a nightmare or anything along those lines, I would remember if like I would watch a horror movie, I would have something similar nightmare to that. But if like you're doing something that of what you're thinking about, like, you know, writing down your goals, writing down your dreams, like you might actually come up with a new business idea or a solution to your business.
They wake me up.
Yeah.
When I do this, honestly, because sometimes I'll review, like I have a list of 100 things I want to do in life at some point, and I got to 90, so I have 10 more. 11 more I have to write. I got to 89, sorry. And in reviewing those, I'm just like, wow. But there was one time where when I was working on this list a year ago, I fell asleep and I had this like really vivid dream about something that needs to be invented, and I woke up and then I wrote it down. But then like at 3 a.m, I started writing out all the different ways this thing could work, and it kept me from sleeping, but I was so energized the whole day because ideas are inspiration and energy. And literally, the one thing I try to check anyone who's around me that says they're not creative, it is literally an innate activity as a human. It's innate to create. If it wasn't a natural thing, would we be able to be on YouTube? YouTube wouldn't be invented. We'd all still be cavemen and cavewomen running around with mallets trying to fight animals and all that.
Right.
It's a natural thing to create and move forward and pushing the needle forward. So those who say that, that's a lie. That's something that the world lied to you about.
Everyone's born with creativity. It's just a matter of people have different talents, and how, I think you explained it last time, of how you display that creativity. It could be whether it's an art form, because a lot of people associate creativity with art, but in reality, it could just be creative in solving a problem. It could be creative ways of making your day more efficient, creative days of dieting, creative days of figuring out basically anything. It's things that are thinking outside of the box.
I gamify everything. Everything is a game to me.
Yeah.
In some way, shape, or form. And it's not, one thing I don't do is I don't compete with anyone.
Oh, I like that.
I compete with me. It's me versus me until I'm where I want to be.
And I think I even told you about this. Like me back in high school was not the same person that I'm now, because
that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And one of the things I feel like they promote in hip hop culture is never changing, which in the same thing, it's like, I get where you're coming from, but in order for you to better yourself, there has to be some sort of change. Because if you're not changing, you're going to be that same guy on the block many years ago. Or actually, many years will pass and you'll still be the same guy on the block. Literally
still be on the block.
Yeah, because we know people like that.
Yeah, that's facts.
And there hasn't been any progression, any change. So to say that, it goes on with what we're talking about with the New Year's resolution. And where I kind of want to move into is, so we covered health, and we covered the mental health aspect of it, the physical health with the dieting. Let's talk about wealth, because right now we're going through a recession. People are struggling. How can people really, obviously we're not professional, we're not giving financial advice here, but some of the habits that you picked up on to make sure that you're good financially, and some of the habits that I picked on that I'm good financially, and preparing for these financial hiccups.
Yeah. Honestly, I think it's just always tucking something away for a rainy day, because you never know when that sun's going to go away.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is it's hard, and I'm not going to say I handle these things perfectly, but one thing mama instilled in me was to be able to hustle and be resourceful and resilient. So, and I understand, because sometimes, financial issues are some of the biggest reasons why people experience relationship issues, friendships, parent-child relationships, marriages, all those things. Financial is one of the biggest things that creates stress. But some of it is like people just going unconscious. They can't be without stuff. Like, bro, do you really need Starbucks all the time? Man. They need to pay for that.
Let me tell you.
Me slipping.
Let me tell you, man, my frat mocha.
Oh, God. Here we go again.
One thing I'll tell you financially, I don't buy anything I can't afford 3 times. So if I'm about to buy something, I think about it. I'm like, can I afford buying this 3 times? Sometimes I even say 4 times. Because if I can't, then I'm not even going to touch it.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times, what we're talking about with finances, it does cause a lot of problems with relationships, with family. And one of the main topics in hip hop is finance. A lot of the times people are like, why is like hip hop all about money? It's because you're coming from struggle. And when finance is a big issue in your family and it's causing, it's breaking homes apart. And like you're growing up seeing this, like obviously you're going to grow up with the mentality of like, money can solve a lot of my issues.
Yeah.
And the older you get, the more mature you get, you start figuring out that, oh wait, money doesn't solve all the issues.
Don't.
But when you do have money, it does give you more opportunity. It gives you more freedom to kind of make these creative decisions, and also more resources in that fact. So like one of the things that I would definitely recommend with the internet being out there is look at financial books. Look at the finance books that are out there.
Tons of them.
Don't go for the fake gurus, but look at the actual financial professionals. Read into it, because that's one of the things that I think you put me on. Some of the people that I follow also put me on is like business books, because it really changed my mind on how I thought about finance and how I started implementing it with my business. Because if your finance ain't right, your finances are your cash flow is the blood of your business. And if there's no blood pumping, the heart's gonna stop. You feel me?
Then you got nothing.
Exactly. So we got health, wealth, and then love. We're not gonna get too deep into it because we already have enough channels talking about relationships. But I want to.
I think big on love though too is, right now we're talking on an individual basis. So
and that's where I wanted to get into the topic of it's
self-love is the best love. Ari.
Because I feel like a lot of people, myself included, got into relationships.
Yeah.
And they didn't love themselves first. They went in there with insecurities, unresolved issues.
Yeah.
Maybe from past relationships, and then they would bring that on to like their modern relationship.
Yep. And it's not even fair to the new person.
Nope.
Because you will be taking out and putting things on their jacket that ain't got nothing to do with them. And it's all because, some people, they rush into these situations. Some people love the concept of love so much, they go from loving one person, mentally exiting, physically exiting, and then jumping into a next relationship in like the next 30 to 60 days. And I'm not here to knock anyone, but however, again, the same way I'm talking about building in assessment and reflection into my year, I do the same thing in relationships. There's plenty of times I've gone through a breakup, not plenty of times, not like I've been in a ton of relationships, but one thing I learned over time is, here we go. I go into assessment mode, what happened? Yeah. What went wrong? What do I feel like this person did wrong? What do I feel like I did wrong? I know I ain't perfect, and I'm sure plenty of people would love to tell me what my faults are.
Shit, you want to listen?
Letter to my exes coming soon, the album experience.
I thought you were going to be like, I got a whole survey for them.
I should have a survey, right? That'd be lit. I get roasted, though.
An automated email response. How was your experience with relationship with Nice Jones? Yeah,
word. 5, 4, 3, 2.
Find us on Yelp.
Find us on Yelp. That'd be crazy. But I think what people fail to realize is that when you've spent so much time and energy with another person, what naturally happens is you lose part of your own individual identity because they come so wrapped up into this person. And so what happens is that person is no longer there. You no longer have that access. You go through a period of trying to redefine who you are in this world.
Yep.
Because you're now this new individual again that's reshaped by this relationship. And if you don't take time to assess what those things are and kind of go backwards on who you were even before you met them and what were the good things you could take from that situation, you're always going to bring some old stuff into a new situation. And then it's not even fair to that person. And insecurities, that's the foundation of failure in all things.
Yeah, for sure. And that's something that, me personally, I'm going through because I recently got out of a long-term relationship. I'm not going to knock on her or anything like that. Shout out to her. I hope she's doing well. But now I'm learning to rediscover myself because I for a long time would wrap it around my relationship. And it wasn't that, one or the other person was kind of forcing that. I think that just naturally happens when you're just always with someone, that you start building the future with them. And then when the future doesn't actually happen, then you kind of start questioning like, wait, where do I go now?
Yeah.
You weren't planning for that.
Yeah.
So that's another thing that's big in New Year's resolutions as well, is people breaking up. And people
that's facts.
Going into the New Year single. And some people go pridefully like single, but some people go in there like worried that they're going to be forever alone. And it's one of those things where it's like, you just have to rediscover yourself. You have to learn how to love yourself, learn how to be alone for a little bit. And really enjoy not necessarily that loneliness, but just that alone time and spending time with yourself. Because I think me and you talked about it when I went through my breakup, of like going out to eat alone, going to see a movie alone. Because, I would feel some type of way because I was always used to doing it with my partner, and I was always used to doing it or with friends. But then when my friends weren't available, I'm like, damn, like I feel some type of way. but then as I started developing it, I'm like, oh, I can go to a restaurant alone. I could go to the bar alone. It's not like I'm that lonely guy. I'm just enjoying my own presence.
Yo, that's fact, and it's a gift. Like I like it because I like silence. I love silence. It's not that I don't like doing things with people. I do. However, there's certain times where I'm like, you know what? I'm in this mode. I want to go to a diner, take my journal, take a book. I eat, I sit, reflect, what's going on, what's the situation.
Yeah,
and I find so much zen in that because I get so much clarity, and it's like, yo, I'm in a room full of strangers. There's no danger. I'm good. Or
even just putting on headphones or earbuds and listening to an audiobook, and there's like, or even just being present, like you talked about, listening to all the sounds that are going on. Just experiencing this moment, whether you're eating food, enjoying that sandwich or whatever you're eating. It's crazy, but just practicing that makes a big difference.
Even being mindful about what you're eating. Like imagine like ordering something and you're by yourself and like sitting through and thinking about what's went into that meal. What are you tasting? Being aware of how these things were made on a very like micro level. That's a form of meditation, believe it or not. That's a form of mindfulness. You're being very hyper aware of what you're consuming, what was composed of what you're consuming, and you're kind of breaking it down and then appreciating it. I'd much rather put things in my body and around me that are things that I value and hold at a high tier, because that's the energy I'm putting into it as it goes on the way in.
And especially for me, because I'm always on a go. Like I learned that sometimes when I'm eating food, I'm like, I gotta eat food and run. And when you actually practice that presence, you kind of learn to enjoy the moment and actually let your body relax and do its thing, versus like rushing, eating, and being like a robot and then going. Because for a while, like I was doing that, and that was affecting my mental health. And I caught myself because I was like, yo, this is not healthy. Like I'm like,
on all across the board,
because like I'm gaining the weight, I'm not feeling good, and then like I wasn't even being happy creating. Like I told you, I was going through that creative block, and I was like, what is happening? Because I felt like I was losing that spark. So now that we covered like the love aspect of it.
Well, one thing I want to say real quick too with the self-love and even just with the weight loss part. One thing that I've changed with my weight loss journey is focus on what I'm consuming and what I'm doing, but I'm not focused on the optic. I'm focused way more on how am I feeling about my exercise. Because before I would look at the scale and be like, man, I've done all this and I feel great, but I didn't lose as much weight as I thought, or I set this goal to lose this much per week and then it didn't happen. And so now I'm more or less enjoying the journey and enjoying the process. I know a lot of people say trust the process. I say love the process.
Love the process.
Non-stop. And
I feel like Gary Vee said that too. He said
he could fight me.
Because he said I don't love like the end game of entrepreneurship. I love the work. He said, because like a lot of people when they think of entrepreneurship, they think of like being on a yacht, getting
all that sexy stuff,
cars, like all the nice stuff. But it's like that's cool and all, but if like you're really present in the moment, loving every bit of it, like in my case, like loving my craft, photography, video, music production, then you really make it feel like, you know, it's not even work. Like,
no, it's not.
You get to enjoy it a lot more.
And just applying that to everything.
And that's awesome that you mentioned that, because I think you told me you were reading a book about like these habits. You want to like just quickly go over what you learned from that?
About habits in a book? I don't even remember.
Atomic Habits?
Oh, didn't you read it too?
I didn't read it. I watched interviews. I want to read it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't even finish the book, to be honest. I read probably more than half of it, but I'm a huge James Clear fan, who wrote Atomic Habits, which New York Times bestseller. A lot of people hold it very high, and you know, amazing books that have come out in recent years. But I did share a post today from his page that talked about goal setting, and that not to focus on the goals, but to focus on like the system in which you achieve goals. And I think that's the most important part, because I think sometimes we hold goals on such a high regard that when you mess up one day, you then are like mad at yourself, and then the whole thing crumbles.
Yeah.
And then when you don't have a system in place, that's what increases the likelihood of the stumble and the crumble. And I think that's like unfair to yourself. And one of the reasons why I really like James Clear is because I met him at an entrepreneur event years ago when I was down in Virginia. And the one thing he said when he was talking, and this is pre-Atomic Habits, he talked about people wanting to make changes so quick and just trying to be 100% better like right away. And he focused on try and be 1% better every day.
Right.
Because then over time, those 1%, they always add up. You know, after 30 days, you're 30% better than where you were before.
Yeah. And those small baby steps really do make a really big impact on the long term.
Yeah.
There was one thing that I listened to his interviews and I really liked it, and that's why I wanted to actually get started on his book. But I also was listening to another podcast. I can't think of the name of the guy, but he was a fitness guy and a fitness trainer, and he was telling people not to make weight loss like their goal, like a certain pound, but more on how they felt. Because if they focused on how they felt, like what we talked about, they're going to love the gym. They're going to love going there, because a lot of the times when you go to the gym and then you reach that goal, then you start rewarding yourself with like back to the fatty foods, back to the stuff that's not healthy, and you get back into the zone. And that's what happens usually to people a month later in February or March after the new year happens, and then they're back to their bad habits again.
Yeah.
So after love, the fourth pillar would be happiness. So with that, I feel like people have a lot of opinions or a lot of different perspective of what happiness is. But overall, from what I learned in life, I feel like there isn't a time when you're just forever happy, because life is full of ups and downs. But it's more, I think, has to do with like fulfillment in all realms of life.
Yeah.
And I always talk to this about all my friends. It's weird, but I feel like, and it's going to sound very zen, but life is all about balance. Because there's always, even with physics, when there's a force, there's usually always an opposing force.
Yep.
And same thing with everything that we're talking about with health, wealth, love, and happiness. There's always that opposing force, and there's always that balance. For example, if you work a lot, you get your finances right, but then, you know, you're not spending time with family, you're gonna suffer on the love part. If in my case, like when I was working a lot, I was getting, you know, a good amount of money, but my mental health was like taking a toll. And also my physical health. And so that's one of my New Year's resolutions, where I'm like, all right, I gotta get back in balance and make this a priority, because if I'm not healthy, I can't run my business.
Nope.
If I'm not healthy, like my family's gonna suffer.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's one of those things that I think about how it takes a toll on others, and now that motivates me to kind of be like, all right, let me realign it and get back into it.
And that's the key, is just having that awareness, because a lot of times people will manufacture these heroic ways to justify their behaviors, and then ignore these other things and ignore the different ways people are communicating with them, their concerns. And, you know, I've definitely been in that realm before. But recognizing it and then making change is super consistent. And then that's a big reason why I like press and pause. Like, just pressing pause allows you to kind of see things a lot differently. And just even what you said about balance. You know, I'm a Libra. Libras are the scales. We're all about balance. Just saying.
You really bringing up horoscopes, bro?
It's cool. They're gonna kill me in the comments for it too.
You really
I be seeing all types of Libra slander on the internet, and I'm okay with it.
You heard it here first.
Dang right. I'm okay with it.
Nice Jones is all about the horoscopes. So I'm just looking at the notes here that we have, and one of the things that you talked about was, you know, the quote from Mike Tyson: "Everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face." Kind of elaborate more on that.
It's one of my favorite quotes of all time. Like, everyone right now is going to be in this planning phase, right? And then 2 to 3 weeks in,
even us,
gonna get that punch in the face.
Ooh, I'm waiting for it.
Yeah,
I'm prepping for it. I'm and then it's punching myself in the face just to get ready for it. And no,
are you okay? How you in a whole toxic selfie relationship where you're self-abusing yourself, punching yourself in the face? Yo, I gotta say it. Whose man is this? Gunther and them. That's crazy. So that's the consistent thing in life, right?
Yeah.
No matter how much you plan for anything, you're gonna get punched in the face at some point.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's how you respond to that punch in the face.
Yeah.
And be ignorant with your goals and your desires. And I mean that in the most nicest way. It's like, I got punched in the face. I don't care. I'm gonna keep moving forward. That's being ignorant about it.
And if you think about it, like bringing it back to just natural, like human nature, like take out all of like the civil part of us. We're meant to adapt. So if we were to get punched in the face in life, how are we gonna survive and how are we gonna react? Yes. And a lot of the times when you bring it back to like those times, like it meant survival.
Yeah.
It meant if you didn't react, you were gonna die. So
that's facts.
In this case, like we have to react to make ourselves better. We have to react to know when we're at fault and when we have to change the scenario. And I think it brings it back to also our previous conversation with your network is your net worth, because you start looking around and you start seeing who's around you.
Yep.
And around this time of year, you know, you spend it with family, and sometimes it's even family that you got to cut off because, you know, blood's thicker than water and all this other stuff. But sometimes you even have family members that are just too toxic, and you just got to limit and set that boundary.
Association breeds similarities.
Yeah, so you have to look at your family members, you have to look at your friends, and really look at it and assess it and really look and see if they're bringing value to your life in a sense of wholeness. Because if they're not, then it's kind of time to set that boundary.
Be honest.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, I think it's weird to me that I've observed this so much in life, in the little bit of life I've lived. Not that I'm like old, but I'm not young either.
Old man.
Dang it.
You sending a pigeon?
Send a pigeon. That was crazy. I watched that and I just still be laughing about it. But I think that when people want to do what they want to do and go unchecked, and then they feel like if friends or family checks you on you being wrong, that they're being disloyal. No, you're wrong.
Yeah.
End of story. To me, they look at that as like an act of disloyalty. They're not supporting you, blah, blah. But that's the highest act of love, is checking somebody when they're doing wrong.
You check me all the time, and I'm totally fine with it.
Yeah, and I don't mind being checked either, because half the time, I tell all the people all the time, if I have a dispute with anyone, whether anybody I'm dealing with, a relationship, friendship, partners, coworkers, I might not agree with you in that moment. Yep. I might even argue and debate in that moment.
You're human.
I'm human, and it's fight or flight. But I reflect so frequently that later on, if I assess and I'm like, you know what, I was wrong in these types of things, and I need to adjust and now look at that differently because I see how it's affecting the people I'm around. Then I'm gonna make adjustments, and I don't mind admitting when I'm wrong. Wrong means it's a chance to learn.
And I'm just gonna let you guys know, he might actually blame his horoscope.
Wow. I don't think I've ever used that lame excuse.
Nice Jones be like, I'm a Libra.
Wow. That's the stuff I hear my students be saying. They be trying to use horoscopes for all types of bad behavior. I'd be like, Yo, don't put that on my jacket.
I'm toxic because of my horoscope.
Yeah. Red Flag City.
No, yeah.
Shout out to one of our favorite red flags that graduated.
Shout out to Red Flag.
Yeah, that's hilarious. Nah, this is kind of hard to deal with since we have a red background and a red logo.
We all red.
Yeah, everything's red. Crazy.
Mary, shout out to Miss Mary with the
red bandana, bruh.
Yo, no, but it's cool because I always surround myself like a lot of people like have their own ways of checking other people and then also like how they like to be checked, and that's one of the things that you always have to communicate with a relationship. Because I'm the type of person that I like being direct. I like people to be direct to me, and I always let them know from the get, like, you know, if I'm coming off wrong, like, you could check me, and then I'm gonna come back and then reassess. So like you check me, Ariel checks me, my family checks me.
Yeah.
And it's a method that I prefer, but I know
not everyone
from
likes
just
that.
dealing. Yeah, not everyone deals it that way, because I had to learn the hard way, because I checked some people and then they reacted a bad way, and then I get mad, and then the whole thing goes downwards. So it's a matter of communication from the beginning and learning how like other people react and how they preferred to be kind of talked to when they're doing something wrong. And then some people are just stubborn. Some people are just
super stubborn.
Some people just gotta let them go. You gotta just let them do them, even if you give them a bunch of warnings. Once again, like that was me, like probably a couple months ago.
Oh wow.
That was me probably a couple months ago, because a lot of people would tell me, "Don't do that," and I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go do it.
Yeah, that's why I don't ever feel bad. Like, I give my advice wholeheartedly. I know that anytime I communicate with somebody, I have good intent.
Yeah.
Even if people don't like the delivery, I'll even say, like, if I delivered it wrong, I'll even apologize for it, because I know I got a sarcastic way of delivering information sometimes.
I haven't noticed.
Oh, that's awesome. Love it. I love that for you, not for me. But again, like, one thing about me, nobody can ever tell me more about me than me. I'm hyper self-aware, but you know, not everyone likes that type of delivery. So let's approach 2023 with higher levels of accountability. I wish more people, like, being able to look at yourself, check yourself, hold yourself to a higher standard. You know, raise your glasses and raise your standards. I say cheers to that, because people need to do more of that. And if they do and they hold themselves accountable better, we can live better lives, and we can be back here a year from now. And I would love to have an opportunity a year from now for people to be able to share their wins with us about how this has helped them, because that's what we're here. We're here to empower minds, one piece of content, one episode at a time, in a very intentional way. And one thing I did write down in our notes was about issuing some sort of challenge. So I challenge you all, anybody listening to this, write the story of where you want to be 12 months from now. How much money do you have? How much did you make? Where are you living? Really assess, are you happy?
Yep.
What does happiness look like for you? Who are you impacting? And then visualizing this story you're writing for yourself of where you want to be by December 2023. This is our Jordan year.
Woo. Yeah.
This is our year to goat up.
Yes, sir.
Know what I'm saying? So it's like, no matter what has happened before, if you're hearing this and you're seeing this, you have a chance to rewrite your story. Don't give another soul out there the freaking pen. Don't give no one else the pencil. Don't give no one else the keyboard. Write your story right now, not 2 minutes from now. Take action right now. Get freaking activated and figure out who you want to be, where you want to be, and who you want to be doing it with by next December. And that's it. Like, let's not complicate it.
You got me pumped.
I'm just saying, like, it's crazy. One thing that I say on the internet, and I mean it so wholeheartedly, I don't even care anything that anyone's ever done to me bad. I legit want everybody to win. I want every single person to win. There is more than enough money and opportunity that we can all win. But everything, you can't win until you're right within. Shout out to Lauryn Hill.
There's a few people I can say that, you know, push them to the side because I ain't Nice Jones. A few people I can think about in my
Reminds me of that.
Later.
Reminds me of that Kendrick line. When Kanye made it with Drake, I was slightly confused.
I can say here because I'm big on not only holding myself accountable, but also just speaking it into existence. Mm-hmm. So one of the things that I'm going for is I'm saving up for a house. So
yes, sir.
I'm saving up for a deposit of a house. Even if I don't buy the house, I'm at least gonna have that deposit.
Yeah.
So that's the one thing on the finance side. On the health and wealth, the health side, mentally, I want to be good. So whether that be going back to therapy and just figuring out some of the past problems that I have, and even losing some of that weight. My ideal weight that I want to go down is 185.
Oh, that's interesting. Me too.
Yeah, I'd be like 185, 180. I think I'd be dope. But knowing myself, I'm like, I'll be 185, then I'm gonna be like, all right, now what's the next goal? Love wise, like, maybe I meet someone, maybe I don't, but I just want to be content with not necessarily having to search for it.
I feel that. Just
kind of be happy with just sharing moments with people.
Yeah, I think that's the best way to approach it because I feel like sometimes people get infatuated with the concept of love and not what it takes to love. And so the issue then comes that they feel like they're not fulfilled until they have love or in love, and then they end up like attracting or like clinging on to all the wrong things because they feel like it's love and it's not.
Yeah, and like with this podcast, when we drop this in December, by the end of this year, we're hitting 100 subs. By next year, we're surpassing 1,000. I'm saying it right now.
Yeah.
Surpassing it.
Easy work.
Because like we're gonna put in that work, we're gonna put in that hustle. We know what it takes, and we're gonna bring it down. And I feel like the energy between me and you, we feed off of each other. And we hold each other accountable. And I think that's very necessary, especially in a partnership. And it's just dope energy all around. And the cool thing is like we're talking about even getting a lot of people involved. With these upcoming projects that we got going on. So overall, it's not even going to be about us, but it's going to be about the community, and we're going to build a whole kind of community that follow us with.
Network to net worth.
Exactly.
This guy's good, I know.
I know, he took the words right out of my mouth. I'm over here fumbling the bag like always.
That's Mr. Fumbles. But no, it's true, man. It's so true. It's it's not always about self. It's about self and how you can empower and help others. And I like that, just thinking about what you want to do and what you want to accomplish. The housing market is what the housing market is, but it's going to adjust because that's how real estate works. It's very cyclical. And just thinking about like the projects you want to do. I have a lot of projects. I've been clearing my creative palette so much these past couple years. This past year I went into my phrase I wrote in my journal a lot was like empty the clip on my creativity. Because I've been in the oven for a bit just chefing up, and I haven't been given much to the world. And I decided as I did my assessment that I didn't do a lot of these different things that I had said I wanted to do.
Word.
But I looked at and wrote down the list of every which way I got a bag this year.
Nice.
And it was so many cool ways, even if it was just something small to larger things. And it's like, wow, there's literally like 20 different ways I collected some type of check this year. And I was like, all right. And I know that some of those I could have actually collected more. So my biggest thing is, vertically integrating all those things.
Vertical integration. Can you actually talk about real quick what vertical integration means? Because some people might not know what you mean by that.
That's a very valid point. So for me, vertical integration is just like integrating a lot of different processes and products and things all up and down the pike. So for example, we have this podcast, right? But in the bigger scheme of things, we want to build a network, right? So then it's assessing like this podcast on what are the different ways that we can find ways to generate business from this podcast, right? So for the podcasts out there that are actually watching this might be a good tutorial to reassess and rethink for yourself as well. And it's free game. But it's like, all right, well, we have the podcast. We have advertising that we can get just based off of YouTube. Check. Yep. You have sponsors you can reach out to that all exist in the world, whether they're small local businesses or they're larger businesses.
Check.
The biggest thing that I find that people don't do is that they think everything's out of reach. Me, I'm ignorant in that regard. I don't mind asking anybody for anything.
Shoot your shot.
All day. And so that's another opportunity. Merchandising,
Woo.
right?
Merch.
You know, we drop a lot of gems and there's a lot of quotables. All those things could easily turn into a merch item, whether it be a hat, a t-shirt, or other different types of merch.
Comment below if you want some merch.
Yeah, holla at us. You know, in addition to that, this is also, and I've been a paid speaker plenty of times in my life. So It's like this now, the brand can travel people that like what we're talking about. People may want a particular type of talk about something and then pay the brand strictly for that. Again, this is all forms of communication. Being able to create things for, you know, other brands that don't know how to find their authentic voice, where we're operating from an authentic voice. So we're able to like integrate a lot of different things, all centered around our ability to communicate and brand up and down the way, which is why it's vertical integrated.
And I think it's really interesting because we actually have these two books right here from two GOATs that are great at vertically integrating their brand. We got 50 Cent and we got Jay-Z. So you could look at their models as well, just from starting out in the music industry, going into the movie industry, fashion, and all of those different areas, and how they've really revolutionized the way we do things. And a lot of the stuff that we consume is vertically integrated by them. So it's awesome, because even the stuff that you're talking about, because a lot of these people are scared that, oh, they're gonna take my idea and stuff like that, and we're not, because it's already done. Like, people are already doing it.
Like Nas said, no idea is original. There's nothing new under the sun.
So like the cool thing is, like, we talked about setting that timeline and how everything has an exact moment of when we actually have to execute it. So that's the cool thing, is setting the timeline with your New Year resolution. Obviously, we could do all of this right now, but it won't be as effective. Everything has its own time and its own moment. So you'll see the podcast grow, and you'll see us implementing these things. So once again,
and that's the
comment if you want some merch.
I think the thing that has happened with technology is everyone's in a rush to be all things to all people at all times, but it's not sustainable. It's not sustainable for your brand, because you get burned out. It's not sustainable for you as an individual, because you get burned out. And what do they say? The average podcast that exists never goes past 8 episodes. Is that what the fact was, or 7 or something like that? It's something crazy.
No, I thought it was 50. They never reached their 50th episode.
They never reached their 50th.
Yeah, because like a lot of people would put out podcasts like episode after episode, but then they burn out because they just haven't really created a system of it. And I think one of the things that me and you talked about is like even setting a schedule and kind of getting into it, getting into the flow, but also being strategic about it. You know?
Yeah, strategy is my number one strength. I'll have to say that. Strategy and copywriting. You know, I can come up with a phrase or a way to align phrases to sell stuff pretty quickly, and how to execute. But that's the thing, like, for anybody out there, like, if you don't have strategy or thought about it, like, think about it.
Yeah.
Do the research, read a book, watch another podcast that talks about business strategy.
And the cool thing is also, like, in business, if you lack one thing, you could always find someone you could partner up with that has that strength. You've seen it. Steve Jobs with Wozniak.
Wozniak, yeah. Huge difference between those guys.
Yeah, exactly. Jay-Z with Dame Dash. You know what I mean? So, like, a lot of different ways that you can implement it, even if you don't necessarily have that skill set. You can find someone else with that skill set, and you can find your strength and then combine it, and then now you have gold.